I'm here in one of the most expensive areas to own real estate in the US. Really highly, extremely desirable area to own a short-term rental, but I hear the laws are really strict. So how do you do it? Specifically, how do you do it with no money, no credit? We'll be talking with my good friends Joe and Eryka about co-hosting properties. Let's take a look. Okay, Joe, Eryka, we're in front of a house that you co-host here on the Central Coast.
Yes.
Yep. How did you get this client to agree for you guys to co-host the property?
Well, I think the numbers I was going to run as a long-term rental was going to run about $4,000 a month.
Yeah, like between 4 and 5.
And we told them that
we could make a lot more.
Yeah, at the end of the year, you can make about $180,000 on Airbnb. And I think when you like investing, the money
versus like 48 or 55 or whatever, you know, it's a big
So this was going to make like 4 times more as an Airbnb.
Yep.
Yes, for sure. The market's there. The need was there. Yep. It's a great house. They did a lot of great renovations. So
as a management company, it's really easy to say we're going to make your property more passive and more profitable by using a short-term rental strategy.
Yeah.
And usually people are open to listen.
And then they say, how do we do that? I don't have time for that. And then we go, that's where we step in.
Right. So how much more is the owner making with you guys managing this property as a short-term rental versus them putting it on as a long-term rental?
So if they make like 180, we take 22%, which is about 40. So that knocks it down to 140. And if they did long-term, they were going to make around 50. So they're making like what, 90? No, that's more than that. No, 90. Yeah, 140 minus 50. Yeah, so like they're making like $90,000 more.
They're making $90,000 more.
Yeah, a year.
And it's just as passive for them.
No, it's like even more passive. They just check in every once in a while.
I think the numbers make sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And they get to use it, right? Like.
Oh yeah, and then they can come down whenever they want.
I mean, it's the best part of short-term rentals.
For sure.
I have some type of personal use for it.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
What's up, guys?
Welcome to Casita Bonita.
So this is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath home on the Central Coast of California, and it's a very successful Airbnb. So when you come in, you're right into the kitchen, which has a ton of natural light and stainless steel appliances, new countertops.
Bedroom 1?
Yes, bedroom 1, blackout curtains, rattan things. I don't know. It's got a wicker vibe.
It's really popular, right? I mean, that's a Joshua Tree thing, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's go check out the rest of the spot. Got some laundry. Very important.
Laundry.
Laundry. Yeah, girl.
Okay, cool.
Let's follow Joe into the master. And my personal favorite part of the house, the master bath. And finally, the 3rd bedroom. Cute little spot.
Beautiful day.
Yeah, it is a nice day. This is an avocado tree, which is great with our string lights. Some lounge chairs, fire pit. Can't beat it. 10 minutes from the beach.
Cool. Okay, so we're here in the Central Coast, California, and a lot of people are interested in buying an Airbnb in California in general. But what is one thing you could recommend to people that want to buy an Airbnb and start their own Airbnb business here in Central Coast?
So the Central Coast is unique. It's like the greater Los Angeles area. There's a lot of different pockets and hidden places. So like you may have like Echo Park all the way to the South Bay in Los Angeles. Up here you have Santa Barbara to Paso Robles, which is wine country. And all in between, there's beach towns, there's inland valleys and things like that. And they're also unique and they all have their own restrictions and regulations. So it's really important you know your local registrations, you get in tight with the city planners, you know if permitting is allowed or it's not allowed,
Right.
Which we all know. That's like your bread and butter. You're not really going to get started if you don't have the proper regulations figured out. But I would say if somebody was interested in buying a house, that's where you start first because you don't want to buy something that's not going to make you money.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the thing in California, right? There's so many regulations. I know for me, that's why I've been so scared to invest here. And I'm investing 2,000 miles away in these states that I never thought I'd be investing in. And I live here in California, but it's doable here, right?
Absolutely. And I think one of the ways that we've become more comfortable in getting involved is one, we're in Joshua Tree. That's a market that we know really well. But we've also started our own management company, which kind of lessens the risk for us. So we can manage for other folks who are willing to take on that risk and they either inherited a property or they sell or finance, so they're getting a really good deal and they want to make some money, and we can come in and use our expertise and make them some money and also make ourselves some money.
Yeah, the nice thing about that is like when you manage other people's properties, it's cool to have Airbnb data, it's cool to have price labs data, but it's nice to have real data. And then from our own personal investing, we kind of know, like, based off of like helping as many other people make money on their rentals are already underperforming with long-term rentals and have all these crazy California regulations, because California really is, in the right circumstance, a good short-term rental market.
Right.
A lot of people say
it should be the best short-term rental market out there, right?
Yeah.
Even if they say the
You
California
got desert, mountains, beach, you got it all.
People come here, but for some reason we're not.
I know.
Well, the thing is, like, they say the California Exodus, but when they leave, where they gotta see their family, they're always coming back. They're always vacationing. They're always a reason to come back to California, whether you like to admit it or not.
I never even thought of that.
That's true.
Okay, so co-host. I've heard co-hosting, which I'm not familiar with, and then there's property management. I mean, what's the difference there?
So co-hosting, it really is one and the same, right? But when you get into with short-term rentals, it's one and the same. When you get into mid-term rentals, it's a little bit more minutia and stuff like that. But co-hosting is just essentially like, whether it's on your profile or on the owner's profile, you're just finding a way to manage a short-term rental for someone on their behalf. So it really is the same thing, and they really are just switched a lot.
Yeah, because the co-host, whether it's co-host or manager, you're still handling all the day-to-day communications, optimization, and automation. But you're still doing all those day-to-day tasks. It's just kind of a different interchangeable word.
Okay, so what's the benefits of co-hosting versus owning? Versus doing, let's say, rental arbitrage, because those are things that we've heard the past 2-3 years.
Oh man, there's a place for all of them, that's for sure. But just like anything, it's like a whole rounded portfolio, right? With owning, you have equity, you have a lot of ownership, you have you get the tax benefits and all that stuff.
Right.
While with co-hosting, there's less risk. But just like anything, if you're starting a business, you need to treat every client as if it's your own and stuff like that. But it's nice because you'd be able to service areas that maybe you don't have the money to buy yourself, but you have the expertise, so you can still leverage and find properties and create money for both you and clients.
Okay.
And so that's other things. If you approach your clients like you approach like a real estate investment partnership, like we're all in this together, we're all figuring it out and figuring out how to make money and stuff like that. So, and then with and arbitrage, arbitrage is a whole other beast and stuff. But it's the same thing with running numbers, and that's more like just like a straight traditional business. If you know very well what your expenses are and how you can predict your revenues, then you have another way to be able to get profits.
Okay.
So they all have their place in the portfolio.
Okay, let me ask you this: who should not co-host?
Ooh,
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Maybe me.
I would say, so one thing where we co-host, you definitely, like when you work with owners on a more close basis, sometimes they're really particular about what they want in their house. And although you may know better and have proven data around what works and like essentials we all know works in an Airbnb, it may take some like convincing or like just more conversations that you're normally maybe not used to having. And so I definitely say there's more of like, got to be a flexibility there between a co-host and the owner, whereas an owner, you're like, well, I can do whatever I want. I know it's tried and true.
Right.
So I think you kind of have to be open, like both the owner and the co-host. We've had some experience with that, but if you just explain, you have data to back up what you're saying, most owners are willing to do that.
If you're not patient, if you're not a team player,
yeah, for sure.
if you're not open up, like people who partner up typically on real estate deals will do great at co-hosting because you treat it like a partnership. If you are a lone wolf and a control freak, I would probably say co-hosting would not be your jam. But
why are you looking at me?
He's looking at you dead in the eyes.
Let's say someone doesn't have any money, someone doesn't have good credit. Is co-hosting for them?
For sure.
Yeah, I think
if you have the expertise to back it up, then yeah.
I was gonna say if you, again, I think co-hosting, you just need to look at yourself. Are you entrepreneurial material? Because in the same thing of co-hosting, it is starting a business, right? Okay. So if you're someone that you're like, all right, I want my mission, good business, providing value, solving problems, right? So if you're a person that has that attitude, I want to solve problems and provide value, you'll be a great co-host, right? But if someone has bad credit, no money,
they went to jail and all
that. Yeah, they might not have the background that proves that they're in that position. So, it's not a get rich quick.
Okay.
It's also like, so we all know that it's all about the client experience, like for the guests. Yeah. But now it becomes your client experience for the ones you're serving, like the owners of the home. So you have a dual, experience that you're trying to make positive, which I think is a big piece. Like we have a huge system in place for client retention, to make them know like, hey, this is what we're doing, everything to make your house amazing and to produce as much money as it can for you, and keep clients happy and well informed and like an open line of communication. And I think that's why all of our management clients are so happy with us, because I used to come, I came from a fundraising background, and it's all about donor retention. So I took everything I knew from there to the corporate world and just put it all on the clients, and that's how you make them happy and you keep them informed and they stick around, and they're willing to refer you out to other people.
Okay.
They always say guest experience in the short-term rental space, right? The client experience is on the same level. Because you can't, as soon as you don't have a client, you don't have any cash flow, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's what I was going to ask too. I mean, why on earth would someone hire a co-host when they could pretty much run it themselves? And how are you getting these people?
Yeah.
If I may. A lot of people don't have time. They don't want to take the time to learn the things. They don't want to take the time to know the ins and outs of running an Airbnb. They would rather hire somebody, or they're in distress of some reason. So a new client we just got, they were doing a long-term rental and they gave 30-day notice to their tenant, and they still have to pay the rent or their mortgage, and so they need money coming in. And so we're pivoting to a short-term rental, which is
going
great.
from long-term rental to short-term rental.
Correct. Yeah, but they were getting ready to leave the country, and they needed somebody who knew what they were doing, and that came to us through a realtor referral, because I'm also a real estate agent.
Right.
And that's where all of our acquisitions and referrals have come from. It's been a huge pipeline for us. And so other agents who may not necessarily know anything about Airbnb have been referring to me to step in, which is great. So that's kind of the main thing. They're either in distress of some kind, typical with investors, right? Like you're looking for somebody who needs your help, and providing a solution, like Joe mentioned earlier, and then also they may not have the time or the energy to take on a big project.
I think the beauty of real estate is that there's always this profitability to passivity spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And depending on where you're at in life, sometimes young hustlers and people who care about every dollar will be more on the profitability, self-manage their things, to scale our portfolio, because we're in a part of our life to scale. But eventually, the more mature you get in your portfolio and stuff, you may care more about leverage.
Right.
Just like you want your time back.
Yeah.
The whole reason we got into all of this is to have more time.
Right.
And so if you're in a position where the numbers still work and you can leverage professionals to do things, it's just like, syndication and all that stuff. So it's just finding the right people and finding, where we're at in our career, where we have all the energy and we love what we do. And
you want to deal with all the shit.
And
make the money.
And it will be awesome to a point one day that we can find people.
You don't want to deal with it.
Exactly. And we can give it to a property manager.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about the potential profits someone could make as a co-host here in the Central Coast. What are the numbers you guys are seeing?
As mentioned earlier, like every market is a little bit different. But I would say, at the very least, I've never seen one property make less than $5,000.
Correct.
$5,000 a month.
$5,000 a month, right? And
On the low end,
Yeah, I think that's just like almost like the California expectation of like what minimum price you can ask for anything based off your competition. So we have some markets where it will make up to $15,000 a month.
$15,000 a month.
When you have
So that's like $500 a night.
Yeah. Well, this house that we're currently sitting in is set to make $22,000 this month.
Yeah.
$22,000.
Yeah. It's
So why is that? Why don't people believe like the short-term rental numbers? I mean, I bet you I don't know what the statistic is. Probably 90% of the people are long-term, what's called landlords, but they don't want to believe what the short-term rentals can do.
Yeah. I think there's too many bad eggs bragging on the internet and showing it it comes down to trust, right? Only because when you see someone on the internet, maybe less skeptical people will be like,
that is us. We are on the internet.
but when you meet someone you trust, and you literally came out and you showed us your numbers and all that, I think
what's not to believe?
It's back to the integrity of real estate, where it's relationship based.
Right.
So I think not enough people have networked enough to know that you can trust people.
Right. Okay, Joe, Eryka, let's talk numbers, because everyone wants to know. They want to show me the numbers, right? So let's talk about the potential earnings one can make co-hosting properties.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, in this property, because it's in such a nice area, we're set to make about $180,000 this year.
$180,000.
$180,000.
Okay, I know some doctors that are making that much, right?
And
and they went to school for 7 years or whatever.
Yeah, you don't have to go to bed.
So you can imagine when you do your analysis and you tell an owner how much money you're going to make $180,000 by just owning this property, and then as the property management company, we're going to make about $40,000 from that.
Yeah, we make 22%.
So 22%. So that's $40,000. So how much money does it cost to start one of these businesses?
It's really little.
Yeah,
very little overhead.
$40.
$40. 40 bucks.
Pulling just sweat equity.
40
Okay.
bucks and a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what is But what does the everyday cost look like now that you're starting the business? So you're making $40,000 a year. How much money are you spending?
It's pretty minimal. I mean, we have like guesting, price lab subscriptions, and all your normal subscriptions. But really, a lot of the cost goes to the owner, right? They're paying. It comes out of the revenue, obviously, like supplies and all that. But we're an LLC and we're taxed as an S corp, so our costs are really low. So we had our LLC costs when we got started. Obviously, the filing costs and the paperwork, but outside of that, it's pretty minimal.
The OpEx, the maintenance cost is so low. Because like again, and it's the pros and cons of like owning versus managing, right?
Okay.
It's literally just the tools to manage a property, but it's really straight up just your time.
So you're making me look like a dummy here because I'm spending $100,000 to acquire properties that generate about the same amount of profit.
It's a great way to diversify your portfolio. I mean, don't
take this money and you build equity like you were.
Exactly. It's a great way for us to build capital to invest in our next project, and that's why we think it's a great way to kind of diversify what we're doing and have ones that we own and operate, and then also manage for other people. So there's less risk. There's not as hands-on. You're just kind of doing what they ask and like giving our expertise. And as far as it goes for like what I actually do for the properties that we manage, it's very minimal. Obviously, if you're automating things, it kind of runs itself. And
so then, what are the downsides of being co-host?
So obviously, we're not making the $180,000 ourselves, right? That's a downside, but it kind of balances out with the risk, and you don't have to pay the mortgage, and you get paid no matter what.
Okay.
But yeah, the downside is you're not building equity, obviously, and you don't get the tax write-offs because that goes to the owner.
Right.
Taxes.
What's one of the hidden benefits of co-hosting?
I would say first right of refusal for sure.
Yeah, which means when the seller's ready to sell, that they first contact us to see if they're interested in buying it.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of social media will show all of their wins, but what are some of the headaches of being a co-host?
I know you can take this one.
Well, I would just say outside of like your normal, maybe not a great guest, obviously we still deal with that. But we have systems in place to talk me off a ledge when somebody's upset at me. I would just say, kind of bringing it back to sometimes owners aren't super flexible. So you have to have like maybe longer drawn out conversations. Whereas if you were the owner, you could just make the decision because you know it works. So I would say probably that. Sometimes owners aren't as flexible as we hope they would be.
Yeah, when you own something, you want to put a hot tub in the backyard, you put a hot tub in the backyard. When you work with an owner, you need to have a whole use case of why a hot tub would be beneficial, and then we don't get the hot tub.
I will say the owners that we work with are great. They do listen to our experience and our expertise and our use cases and things like that. And so we've been able to add value to their properties, and they've been happy with it.